Hello, Mark Larsen here for the Dreamcatcher podcast. Thanks for joining us. Today, my guest is Kelly McCarthy. How are you doing, Kelly?
I am absolutely fabulous. So much. Thanks for having me, Mark.
Well, thanks for being on the Dreamcatcher podcast, and we have all issues taken care of now, and it's going to go smoothly. So Kelly, where are you located at?
I'm in the northwest corner of Connecticut.
Okay. Is that your where you grew up?
I absolutely no, not in the northwest corner, but I did grow up in Connecticut, though originally from Orlando, Florida. I was
Oh,
there for less than a year of my life, moved up to Connecticut and lived and grew up in Simsbury, Connecticut. And then when I became an adult, the woods called me and asked me to please move to the northwest corner. And that's now where I reside and will probably remain here.
that sounds awesome. So it's a very wooded area. I've never been to Connecticut. I've never been to that part of the country. So
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful area. We live in a very, very beautiful area. So if you ever have the opportunity to come to Connecticut, we're so fortunate because not only is the ocean like an hour away,
wow.
also really close to the big cities if you're into city life. But then we also have these really remote areas that are just acres and acres of wooded bliss.
You have the best of all worlds there. That's
Do
really nice.
and we have great weather, so we don't never have to worry about all the natural disasters or anything else. We're really a beautiful, safe little state here on the East Coast.
So how? I mean, is it very many people around you, or is it very very rural?
Well, where I am, we have about 4,000 residents that are year round, but
Okay.
then we also have one of the biggest lakes in Connecticut, just a mile from my house.
Oh,
So in the other times of the year, we have an additional about 6,000 people that
what?
come into town for their second homes that are on the lake.
Nice. I've got to visit. So is it flat, or is there mountains or hills, or?
Well, we definitely don't have mountains per se, like,
Okay.
out west, but we do have a lot of really nice hiking trails that are nice elevation, but not enough where people are gasping for breath.
My kind of place. That is very much my kind of place. So Kelly, what do you do in Connecticut?
In Connecticut, as you can see behind me, this is Clarity Cottage, and I own a business called Beyond Words and Wisdom. And I am a soul reader, I am a universal energy guide, and I'm a spiritual mentor for those looking to create more conscious awareness in their life.
Awesome. So how did you get on that journey?
Woo! Well, that is a story. And as we all know, we all have stories. So I don't like to go into the gory details of anything because that really just brings our frequencies down and brings us back to what happened. But as we all know, we all have some kind of story, some kind of trauma that kind of opens our eyes and gets the universe tapping us on the shoulder to make different choices in our lives.
Mhm.
And for me, to simply put it, I had suicidal ideologies, and really, what it came down to was not that I wanted to die, I had never been taught how to live.
Wow. That's
And going through that, what the clinical world would call a breakdown, I saw it as a breakthrough. And that was my chance to really learn about myself, my needs, creating healthy boundaries, and working with mentors and modalities to really change the way that I showed up in the world. And now I teach other people that same thing.
how long you been doing this?
Let's see. As a business, 4 years. Not as a business, helping people along and working on my own self journey, well over a decade.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how many people do you work with? Or is it a set amount of time, or is there quite a few?
Ooh, I was going to say quite a few. I have clients all over the world because a lot of
Really?
the things I can do remotely, I'm also an animal communicator. So, as a soul reader, I work with humans and animals living in past, and really speak to all energies. So, I have a connection to Mother Earth. I have a connection to wild and domestic animals. So, I work with both. I have a connection to the trees and the rocks and the sky and everything. So, really, I'm just reading the energies of everything around me. So, when
Hmm.
it comes to clients, uh, wow. I work with two people a month, specifically in a very intensive 4 week program where we spend 2 hours a week together,
Okay.
really, really diving into that shadow side and creating that conscious awareness around their life, learning their shamanic gifts and things like that. So that I do, but I also have a lot of clients that come in just for individual one-on-one sessions. So I
Okay.
probably see about 20, 25 clients a month
Okay.
in my business.
That's quite a few with what you're doing there.
Yes,
So
on top of I'm a speaker, so I'm a keynote speaker coming up this month. I facilitate retreats with people, so I'm kind of all over the place and have a lot going on all the time.
so cool though. I
Yes.
mean, so, okay. Speaking, actually, speaking here doesn't intimidate me at all. I was very quiet when I was younger. But how long have you been a keynote speaker and doing speaking?
Oh, I have been speaking since in large crowds. I actually took public speaking in high school. So that
Okay.
was a required course for us.
Oh,
So that really laid the groundwork. But
good.
I would say that because I was in the restaurant business for 27 years, believe it or not, prior
Mm,
to what I do now, that created unbelievable life skills and communication skills. But
yeah.
I've been speaking on stage since I was 16 years old.
Wow. I mean, does that intimidate you at all?
No,
Evidently not. Okay.
not even a little.
That's awesome. So how do you get to that point? I mean, I this like I said doesn't intimidate me, but when I get on small groups, I can do. But if keynote, I would probably blank out. I probably would talk, but I wouldn't remember any of it. So, oh my
Well,
god.
to me, Mark, I have to say that one of my shamanic gifts is the ability to channel. So
Okay.
oftentimes I'm going on stage and it's literally them sharing through me. So I become that vessel for the messages to come through. Often, even when I'm on podcasts and things like this, literally they are just with me
Mhm.
because of my deep connection to my ancestors and my guides. I literally go into meditation before anything that I'm going to do. And
Interesting.
then I'm able to channel and just speak as they want the messages to be heard by others.
That is a whole different idea than I ever had thought about.
Yes.
So that is very, very
Meditation is key. I will tell you this, Mark. Meditation is key for all that you want to learn and all that you want to become, because it's the only time that we quiet our minds down, that conscious, overthinking, that type of stuff, that we can really go within and connect to our inner beings. And then from there, we're finally speaking our truth. But when we're constantly overthinking and constantly looking at everything around us, it becomes this cause and effect, right? But when we go within, we're actually causing the effect. And that's the difference.
I love that. No, and I do walking meditations a lot. I mean, we're so rural that I go not today's gonna be pretty nice actually for January, but I go out and walk miles,
Yes.
and it's so peaceful. And I have animals usually. Well, I had, and maybe I told you this the other day when we talked. Had a possum that joined me one day,
Yeah.
so maybe and she just went along with me. She's like, "Let's go." And it's like, which animals are very well, like we were talking before we started the podcast with the owl. Animals are always around me, and animals though I get them. It's just and I think I've probably been that way most of my life. It's just maybe I just realized that they get me. So
Well, you have to remember, Mark, the animals are merely just frequencies.
okay.
So, what they're doing is they're connecting to the frequency of you in those moments. And when you are outside and you are in that peaceful state,
Yeah.
you're not overthinking, you're not overstimulated, you are becoming the version of you that you're meant to be in that frequency. And the
Cool.
animals are connecting to the frequency of who you are. That's why many people are able to attract animals all the time. My mother is like the Snow White of Snow Whites.
Really? Okay.
Literally feeds the deer, has the bears, I mean, the fox, the raccoons, and she's out there with all of them, and they don't mind her and she doesn't mind them because it's an understanding of the frequency. Now, when we have fears of animals, then
Uh-huh.
of course they're reading the frequency. And this goes with domestic animals too. I often do animal communications, and people will say, my animal has a behavior problem. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, well, actually, they don't. It's usually the energy of the household that is creating the behavioral issue, and
Wow.
people don't even realize it.
Wow. That
So
is so
we affect animals in more ways than people understand, and I mean even globally. We're
really.
Planetarily, absolutely. Whatever energy that we are walking in, if we are angry, if we are sad, if we are hateful from our hearts, we are literally imprinting and impacting our entire planet just by walking upon her with that energy. She's absorbing it. The animals are absorbing it. The trees are absorbing it. The rocks are absorbing it. So we have to start to become really conscious in how we're showing up, because whether you're conscious to it or not, you are literally imprinting and impacting every experience you have, as well as every being on the planet.
Wow, that is so awesome. And that explains, we must really, because we have so many animals, we have a bobcat that's very tame.
Yes.
The deer come up on the step when the bird bath is actually empty out of water. I think if they could ring the doorbell, they would, and we have like 52 turkeys. We have so much animals that are around here, but that kind of, I
They
love that.
they feel safe in that area.
Yeah, and they do. And the first time we saw the bobcat, he was cleaning our back step like a house cat.
Yeah.
We looked out the kitchen window and he looked right back at us, and it's like, oh wow.
Yeah,
But he's
I
never.
actually just last week I was sitting here and working with someone online, and literally had the biggest coyote I've ever seen
Uh,
come right up to my window and just sit down and look at me, and then walk to my side door and just sat there and looked at me and then trotted off. And I was like, "Oh, hello, coyote. How are you today?" But
it-
absolutely no fear, just curious. And if we did not have the window in front of us, we were literally 2 feet from each other.
wow,
I mean, he
that's
was right
amazing.
at my window,
And I love that. I just love it.
coming
So
in to share his medicine and his message with me. And
yeah,
that was it.
and it's just, and birds definitely, like the owl. But we always have this cardinal who is very very tame. In fact, I think if we open the door, he'd come inside.
Yeah.
And I always hear things about cardinals. If it's somebody that has passed or something. I don't know if there's anything to that, but
A lot of people think that, and that's a beautiful offering. That's a beautiful, understanding for people, because it gives them comfort.
Mhm.
But in my heritage, cardinals actually mean, the message and the medicine they share is to have compassion for self and others. So
Okay.
when you see the cardinals, whether male or female, they are literally there to remind you to have that compassion for yourself and to share that compassion with other people.
I love that. And
Yeah.
he's always here. I mean, he's just, and we have a walkout, and he sees himself, but he's very determined to get in, and he would get in. But talking about compassion, I loved your post you put up that we should treat ourselves like children. I think that's such great advice, but we don't do that in general, I believe. So, uh,
Yeah, well, and that comes from our conditioning. It's not that we don't want to love ourselves. It's literally that we forget. Somewhere along the line, someone told us somewhere that we didn't matter, we weren't good enough, we weren't pretty enough, we weren't handsome enough,
yep.
we weren't smart enough, we weren't whatever. And
Yes.
unfortunately, those things, those ideas, and those beliefs get instilled in our subconscious because they create an emotion. And those
Okay.
emotions get caught up in our subconscious, and every time we hear something like that again, we're literally just tapping into the subconscious that's already heard that, because it creates a memory, and
Okay.
those memories become our personal reality.
Uh-huh.
So we have to be really mindful of the beliefs that we hold and realize, and live more in a neutrality state, which is what I do. Learning how not to react to what other people say and what other people do when it concerns you. Because in the
Okay.
end, the only power you're giving is your own. You're giving it away by allowing other people to dictate how you feel. And we're seeing this more and more in the country today.
Right.
Everybody's offended. Everybody's, upset
It
about
is. It's
whatever
terrible.
he's doing. And look, here's the thing. When you learn not to react to what other people are doing, your life is so much more blissful.
Very much. Amen. Yes,
So
it
much
is.
more blissful. But this is a learned behavior, because by the time we're 35, 95% of who we become is an unconscious habit of one kind or another. And in some way, these habits are beautiful. We don't need to learn to walk again every day. We
Right.
don't need to learn how to use utensils and to brush our teeth, things like that.
Right.
But then there are habits that are not serving us, and those become these unconscious patterns over and over and over again. And that's why it's so difficult for people to make changes, even in their thought process,
Mhm.
because every single thought you have creates a feeling, and you've already got neural pathways created every single person you've met, with every single experience you've had. That's why a lot of people use their boss as, their excuse to hate work and be angry all the time.
Mhm.
Or they use their mother
Yeah.
as the reminder of judgment or things like that. But then we use animals and happy puppies as, the neuro pathway to happiness and smiles and playfulness.
Yep.
So we have to be really mindful of how we allow our brains to attach to these different areas of our life. And again, the best way to do that is through meditation. And though walking meditations are beautiful, oftentimes we're still thinking in our meditations. We're using our outside senses, which don't allow us to go in.
True. And that makes sense.
Right. But when we learn to quiet our mind and sit and stay and give ourselves permission to just be in that space, that's where the magic is.
Okay. I've got a question. Okay. I've tried the traditional, what you're explaining, meditation, but immediately my brain is going every which way. How do you quiet that?
Well, and here's the thing. You actually, if your mind is not racing all over, then your meditation is not working.
Really? Okay.
Actually, what you want, because in meditation, what you're doing is you're sifting and sorting through all of those things to realize what you don't want so that you can know what you do. It's bringing up all of this information so that you can kind of sift through and say, no, I'm not going to think about that right now. It's testing you. It wants you to do that so that every moment you have the choice to say, no, I'm going to stay here. No, I'm going to stay in this moment. No, I'm going to stay in this moment. And the more that you can create that consciousness of being as present as possible, whether it's 30 seconds or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If you can stay for 20 minutes, fabulous, but it's not necessary. And that's what people think, that they have to sit in this pose and have everything quiet for an hour.
Right.
And that's simply not true, especially when you're first starting out. If you can stay in a space of being completely free, even for 30 seconds, you've done your work for the day. Don't push it.
Wow. I have never heard
allow yourself to say, okay, I did 30 seconds, pat on the back, and then go through the rest of your day. Remember, you're just sifting and sorting through all different experiences and meeting all kinds of people. And you don't need to be so attached to any of the outcomes. Instead, you can just look at all of these things and say, oh, okay, I experienced this. It showed me what I didn't want in my life. So now I can start moving towards this. Oh, I met this person. They were challenging today. This is a reminder of, hey, I have that in me too. So maybe I need to have some compassion and non-judgment for how they're acting instead of reacting to them. Right? So that's what the moments of each and every day are. And this is the kind of stuff that I teach people. And once you learn what your shamanic gifts are, because we are all born with them, we're just conditioned to forget them. But when we learn and start to harness our own gifts, whether it's clairvoyance, where it's clairaudience, claircognizance, it doesn't matter what your gifts are. But when you start to harness them, they can actually be used as tools to help guide you on your path.
Awesome. And like we talked, when we initially talked, I mean, a lot of these things are coming into my reality very much. In fact, the gal that with the podcast that dropped this morning, she kind of was on the same wavelength. And she's like, Mark, what do you see about me? And I actually could see things.
Yes.
And it's just like, wow, I never thought about having somebody ask me directly and then getting what I saw.
Yeah.
And it's so awesome. And
well, and it's we all have these gifts, but so many people are afraid to step into them in fear of what other people are going to think. But the beautiful thing right now is the collective consciousness is becoming more aware. It's growing and getting bigger and bigger. And you have those people who are living in fear right now. And you have those people that are living in bliss. And remember, the ones that are living in fear, they are, again, that message to us of what it would look like if we chose not to become more aware. Right. Also, not everyone is meant to shift because we always need that contrast.
Interesting perspective. I love that. Okay, I never thought of it that way. You're opening. I knew it'd be awesome podcast. Oh gosh, I never thought about that. So there are so many people that are just total fear, I mean,
Yeah. Well,
just
and here's the other thing. We are stepping into a frequency now, and this goes back to the post I was talking about this morning with the conscious collective being asked to go within and love ourselves.
right.
Not worrying so much about what everybody else is doing and really start focusing on us. Because look, we were gifted this vessel, right? We were gifted this body, we were gifted this life, and we are creators, and
Yes.
we get to choose, we get to do and be whatever we want. We just have to unlearn all of the patterns and all of the beliefs that have been instilled in us
Yes.
from all kinds of avenues.
Yep.
But if we just take the simplistic view of, would you ever allow your children to be treated the way that you allow yourself to be treated? Would
Yeah.
you ever allow your children to experience some of the things that we allow ourselves to experience? Of
Yeah.
course not. We nurture them, we love them, we keep them safe.
Yes.
And really, it's just the outside conditioning of what we didn't know until we know, right?
Yeah.
It's
You,
that simple.
it is, and you don't know what you don't know until
Exactly.
it's like
You're never going to know it all
oh,
because we're infinite beings, and we're never going to get it wrong, and we're never going to get it done.
yep. No, that's true. And I still have the conditioning, like when I was quiet, because I was bullied, and it was like I wasn't worth anything, and if I was quiet, I didn't get bullied as much.
Right.
I still have that come up, that conditioning come up,
Absolutely.
and it's just like, no, that's not you anymore.
Yes, but right there is the work, Mark. Right there is what we call the shadow work, is
Okay.
being able to notice, to be able to realize that it's a condition.
Okay.
And that the more you bring conscious awareness to it, the more you will be able to move through it.
Cool.
So every time you notice it and you say, "Ooh, this is not who I am. This is from something else,"
Yes.
you're doing the work.
Okay.
Because the spiritual journey, this is not for the weak at heart.
No, it is not. It is.
This is why so many people don't.
Yeah.
And that's okay,
Yeah.
right? Because again, we just need the contrast.
Yeah. And
We
I'm going
need
to
to be constantly reminded of who we don't want to be so that we can step into who we truly are.
wow. I mean, I'm smiling so much that my jaw's starting to hurt. So I know why God, the universe crossed our path. So very, very much. So Kelly, how do people find you to work with you?
Oh, so that's pretty easy. I'm all over the place. So
I love it.
I'm everywhere. You can find me everywhere. Easiest place is probably social media. A lot of people follow me on either Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. I make it nice and easy. It's just my name, Kelly McCarthy.
Okay.
And then my website, of course, is beyondwordsandwisdom.com.
Okay.
So people can go on there and check me out as well. But also people can email me, Kelly at beyondwordsandwisdom.com. And a lot of these different avenues have my phone number.
Okay.
I write for publications like Natural Nutmeg Magazine that's all over Connecticut. And
wow.
as well, there's another outlet in Naples, Florida. So I'm on people's podcasts. I'm going to be on a radio show on the 29th. So I'm kind of...
You are all over, yes. That's awesome.
all over.
That is very good. So do you have your own podcast?
No, I do not, but I have been asked over and over and over.
You have an awesome podcast.
Start a podcast.
Oh, I mean, that is... So you said you were getting ready to do a keynote. How much speaking do you do? Do you do some every week or...
I don't do keynote speaking every single week, but I do a lot of speaking, whether it's on podcasts, whether it's on, different things like that. I run a lot of my own retreats, a lot of my own workshops.
Wow.
I'm asked oftentimes, especially with like Natural Nutmeg Magazine, they ask me to come in and do workshops for their subscribers. So I'm kind of everywhere all the time doing something.
That's good. So do you do your retreats locally? Is that
yes? Well, sometimes I'm a facilitator for other people's retreats,
okay.
And oftentimes I have them here. But when I do retreats, I make sure that they are very intimate, small gatherings. I do not offer personally my retreats, with 50, 60, or even 20 people. Mine are more maybe 4 or 5 people because I want it to be really intimate and I go really deep. So I want people to really learn, the aspects of their shadow side, of working with their gifts, connecting to their gifts, learning about meditation, learning about quantum physics and neuroscience. And so when I work with people, it's really important to me that it's not just a weekend thing. I like to do day-long intensives where
Okay.
people are really into it. And then what people love about me is I call myself not a one and done practitioner.
Okay.
So people come to see me. Oftentimes you see some kind of practitioner for energy work or whatever. And then afterwards you're like, okay, I feel great, but now what?
Yeah. Right.
That is not me. I
Okay.
have people come in, I sit down, I explain the entire process, I make sure they feel safe, and then we work with, the energy work and the soul reading. And then afterwards, I share all the messages that come through for them. But then I also tell them, if anything comes up over the next few days, weeks, months, I don't care when it is, feel free to reach back out. That's what I'm here for.
Very nice.
As a teacher, it's my personal responsibility to make sure that people continue on their journeys and
Mhm.
aren't just left going, okay, now what? What do
Right.
I do now? So I want to make sure people have that pathway, that guidance.
Right. Yeah.
They continue on their path and they don't just have this one beautiful experience and then that's it.
Yeah. And I think that's so awesome because I think most things do just you're done, and then it's like, what
Yeah.
is next? And
Yeah.
then it doesn't really. With that one day was great, or whatever the time was great, but it's
Right.
kind of wasted time because you didn't show them the way, basically.
Right. Well, and that's the point. There's a lot of these events and things that you go and you listen and you feel really good, but what we're missing is the embodiment of the practices.
Yes. Yes.
So that's where I want people to go with the work that I do. Is I don't want them to just hear it, because that's an that's an outward experience that we're having. We're using the wrong senses when
Right.
we use our eyes and our ears and things like that. I want this to go to a cellular level. I want you to be able to make those shifts in your life
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that you can create that conscious change and live a very different life. So I try to stay with people as long as they want me, to make sure that they're staying on the right path.
Very, very cool. I mean,
Yeah.
this.
So oftentimes I'll have clients contact me and say, "Hey, Kelly, an eagle just flew over my head as I was driving. What does that mean?"
I bet. Well, I
So
already asked the owl thing, so.
I laugh because even though Google is a resource, right? You can literally look it up. Their first thought is to contact me. So that makes me feel so honored and grateful because I know that I've made a far greater impact
Yeah,
than just, words being spoken.
and your energy is it's epic.
Thank you.
I just love your energy.
Thank you.
So do you write? Have you written books or anything, or would you ever write?
Oh, that's another one. Oh, I write all the time. I write
Okay.
articles every single month for Natural Nutmeg magazine.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
also been in other publications. But no, the book has not come to fruition yet. I have been asked several
I
times
bet.
to write a book. I have been part of anthologies where, you're writing a chapter for a book.
Okay.
But I feel that my presence, not just through writing, is much more important to be in person working with people right now
I can
than
see.
just have my words on a page.
Wow.
Yeah, so I do have a weekly newsletter. People sign up, through my website so that they can gain this insight every single
Right.
week, things like that. And I do post on social media and things like that. But the book has not come to fruition yet. They
And
will
the
let me know.
the word is, it will, and the word is yet. Yes, I have.
Yes, yet, always add the word yet. Never say you can't or you don't or whatever. Always add the word yet. I don't know yet. I haven't learned yet.
Yeah.
So you have to be really mindful because the universe is listening, right?
It
This is
is.
physics. This is no longer, pseudoscience. This is backed by, real science now that they understand the
Yes.
power of the quantum field. So we have to be mindful of not only the way that we're feeling, but what we're thinking and our actions, because literally life is not happening to us and it's not even happening for us.
Mhm.
It's happening as us, through us.
Yeah.
Our energetic frequency and how we show up in every single moment is literally creating the next.
Yes. And I wouldn't have been that long ago. I wouldn't have agreed with that, but I 100% agree with you now.
Yeah. And you don't know until you know.
Yeah, it is very
As we
much.
feel better, we do better. And as we do better, we help create the space for others to do the same.
Yeah. No, it was just like I would not have put the word "yet" on there. I would have said I can't do that, and or like when I started the podcast almost 4 years ago, it's like what, who wants to listen to me? I can't do that, and yeah, it's the journey has been very interesting, so interesting. But so Kelly, my gosh, so what does 5 years? What would you like to be doing in 5 years with this?
Woo, 5 years
Or,
from
or a couple years?
now. 5 years from now. I think 5 years from now, I will probably have a second location somewhere.
Okay.
Somewhere completely different than Connecticut.
Nebraska? I'd say it.
I will say that I have always been drawn to the Southwest.
Oh,
Always,
yeah.
always.
That
So
is
I
cool.
see myself somewhere, like Santa Fe,
Yeah.
or somewhere in Arizona, or Taos, something like that. I'm always drawn to the desert, and that's my Native American heritage.
And
That
that area of the country just seems like it does have something
it
going
does.
on there.
It
So,
absolutely does. I mean, well, the entire country does.
uh-huh.
Because you have to remember, I know a lot of people are, oh, I wish I had your gifts. I wish I had that connection to the Native American culture and this and that. And here's the thing, we are all one energy. So whether you have that elders or ancients blood running through you directly, it does not matter. It really does not. It's the energy of what you are able to feel. And when you have a connection to Mother Earth, when you have a connection to that, you are connecting to the tribes and the ancestors who have been here before us. So allow yourself to feel into that and appreciate it and be grateful, because again, we are co-creating our world. We are co-creating and dreaming our world into being as one energy. So allow yourself to immerse yourself in all the different cultures of all the different tribes that lived here before us, because they are alive in each and every one of us, whether you come from a direct descendant or not.
Yes.
That is my belief. I know that there are Native Americans out there that do not believe that. They hold on to their ancestors and the trauma, and I understand that. But again, for me, I don't want to live in the pain and the stories of my ancestors. I want to live as we are meant to, in the hopes and the dreams and the opportunity of generations to come. So when we live in the past and we live in the stories, no matter what culture it is, we're actually keeping ourselves back in that, instead of realizing that we get to create whatever it is we want moving forward. So for me, it's a placeholder that keeps us, not that I like the word stuck, but keeps us living in those lower frequencies. And I don't think that that's necessary. I think that we can all come together as one energy and really create something absolutely magical together.
And I agree. And that's one thing. The universe, God tells me that I'm going to show people their gifts and the way. Is that something that, sounds like maybe kind of what you do. So he's been very much, because I talk to God, universe, whoever I'm talking to, or talks to me. And that's what he said. He says, that's the path to this podcast. Because he said, he was saying that people weren't getting the message, through traditional methods. And he wanted my podcast to become, and he has been definitely showing me that, because he's been showing me people that to be on the podcast that definitely do exactly what he said he was going to.
Right.
So I'm still wondering how that is exactly. Maybe just doing the podcast for right now, and
it could be just for now. And don't even worry about it, because here's the thing: most people are either living in the past, they're reacting to the future, or they're trying to figure out the future.
Yeah.
And by doing any of those things, you're missing the now. And
you
this
are.
is the moment that matters. So every time you find yourself in any of those, you can literally just say, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That can kind of bring you back to center. Ooh, I'm thinking. Because that's not what you want to do. You want to learn to be in the present moment as often as possible, because it's not about the destination. There is no destination. You're an infinite being.
Yeah.
You came here with a contract. You know, whether you understand this or not, or believe it or not, it doesn't matter. It's the truth. You
Yeah.
came here to learn certain things and literally unlearn other things.
Yes.
So by living this path and being really standing in your truth, creating those healthy boundaries and
Yes.
making sure that you're putting yourself first is really, really important. I'm talking to people now about it's time to, as a collective, to become consciously selfish. This
I
is a
understand
time
exactly
where
what
we
you
need
mean.
to
Yes.
stop putting all others first,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
we need to really start making sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And this goes for everyone. This is moms, dads, brothers, sisters. But I mean, this is everybody across the planet needs to start realizing that, look, you are part of other people's lives, but your life has to come first. Because if you're not taking care of you and you're trying to pour from an empty cup, you're going to live in survival mode. And that's what most people are doing.
Very much.
Just living in survival mode. But here's the thing, we don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
You can either learn to change through pain and suffering,
Yeah.
or you can look at your life with absolute appreciation and gratitude
Yes.
and change from that point.
Yes.
But like, choose which would you rather?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Now, I had to experience that pain and suffering for me to change because I wasn't aware.
Yep.
But now that I am aware, now that I'm on the other side, now I can live my life as the creator, realizing that every step I take is my choice.
And it is so cool because I was definitely in survival mode and all that. And
We all have been.
uh-huh.
We all have been. And here's the thing about our spiritual journeys is they're not linear. For every step forward, you might take 10 back, right? So don't be hard on yourself. Realize that that's what this life is. That's all it is sifting and sorting through all the experiences, all the people, all the things to realize what you don't like and what you don't want so that you can move towards what you do.
Yeah.
And if people would just simplicity, think about that neutrality,
Yes.
their lives would be very different. But people get so caught up in what they see as outside circumstances, and they're reacting to these instead of realizing that the more that you react, the bigger you make it. It's why we will always have a war on drugs. We'll always have war. We'll always have, they always call them war on guns, war on, child trafficking. Why? Because every single person that talks about it or thinks about it or tries to act around it just makes it bigger.
And
people need to learn to shoot,
yes.
and just allow it to be, because when the noise stops, when the voice is quiet, we quiet our minds and we open our hearts.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about.
And that's what it's all about. It's not about loving my neighbor because they are this. It's not about trying to change anything outside of yourself to be happy. And that's what so many people do. If that person would just change, I could be happy. If this circumstance would be different, then life would be good. No. You have to understand that your life is a gift as it is.
Yes, every day, every moment.
Every single moment of every single day is a gift.
Yep.
And if you forget that, again, that's just you having an experience to help you bring back to center.
Yep.
That's all it is.
It is. And that's actually another day is our company is LLC, because when Cheryl had her cancer, we didn't know she was going to get another day. And it like I told you the other day, it gives you clarity very much. And that actually,
that was the universe.
Yeah.
That was the universe saying, hey, there's a whole different way to live if you want to. Here's your chance.
Yeah.
Here's the opportunity.
Yeah.
And some fight for it and some give in and give up.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. Not everyone is supposed to make it, again, because we need the contrast.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, I had never thought about it until today on that. And that you do need the contrast, otherwise you wouldn't know, So,
It's why I tell people always say, I just want to be healed. I just want to be healed. And I always say, you're never fully going to be healed.
Yeah.
And here's why. If you were to forget every single thing you ever experienced, you might have to go back and experience it again just to remember.
Until you learn, yes.
Right. But when you come to a place where you can literally look at your life and say, I would not change a thing because I know that it brought me to the exact place I am right here,
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
And this place is fabulous.
Yes.
That's when you know that you've done the work.
Ah, cool. And I'm to that point finally after all these decades. But like you say, we're all on our own. I'm
Absolutely. We're all on our own timeline. We're all on our own timeline. And this is why I also hear this a lot with people that, friendships fade, families have to separate. Look,
like
don't take it so personally. People are on their journeys and not everybody is going to understand yours. And
true.
people have to come in and out of your life so that you can experience this, right?
Yeah.
And when you have resolved or come to the other side of your traumas throughout your life and you're living a different way, you cannot vibe on a frequency with those people that are still down here.
Right.
Because what happens as caretakers, it's the human experience to
Right.
want to care for other people. We actually lose our high frequency and go down to them because we're helping them. We're trying to help them in there. So we're taking on their energy
Hmm.
instead of realizing, ooh, this person is not my highest good anymore.
Yeah.
They just haven't, and I don't like the word leveled up, but for this conversation, it kind of makes
I know
sense.
what you mean. Yeah.
When they learn to raise their frequency, it's very possible that you're going to meet again.
Yeah.
But
True. And I have had that. Yeah.
it's okay to have those healthy boundaries and say, look, I cannot partake in anything that depletes my energy anymore.
Yeah. And
Period.
yes. Yes.
You have to walk away. That
You
does not
do.
make you a bad friend.
No.
That makes you consciously selfish of putting yourself and your needs first because you have one life.
Yes.
And this is your one life
Yes.
here. You're
Yes.
going to come back and you're do it again.
Yeah.
But how do you want to live your one life here?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's one thing why I started this podcast. Everybody's like, well, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next year. And it's like, this is now. All you have is now.
We don't know that we have tomorrow.
We don't. No, we don't. And that's why.
And follow your bliss. If
Yes.
it, I always say, and I'm not going to swear on your podcast, but if it isn't a yes,
Mhm.
it's a no.
Yep. Yes.
Like,
Yes.
and when you learn to use your shamanic gifts, whatever they are, a lot of people they get the chills or they get the goosebumps. You can use that as a confirmation of knowing that this is right for you.
Okay, so if I hug somebody and I get those feelings, that's a good thing?
That's a good thing.
Okay.
Those are your confirmations. Those are your guides talking to you through your shamanic gifts.
Okay. Because the first time I had that happen, it's like, this is really different.
It's a profound feeling to connect to your gifts and know and trust them. But so many people are afraid of them because we've been conditioned to think that these are bad, that
Yeah,
these are
right.
woo-woo, that these are witchy, that these are, look,
Mhm.
we
Yes,
all
we
have
do.
this,
We
right?
all-
Like,
yeah.
but there's so much shame and guilt and fear of stepping into our own powers because God forbid, what would people think of us? Are they going to burn us at the stake? They did years ago.
Yeah, they did.
People, there's a lot of fear to step in because of the stories we've been told
Mhm.
over and over and over again, and they start very young.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
they do.
so happy to see the amount of parents that are beginning to homeschool their children and getting them out of the educational
Yes.
system that is literally just compounding the traumas and compounding
It
the
is.
stories and the history that's not even our true history. They're just compounding all of this information that doesn't serve these children. And by the time they're 5 years old and they're put in these schools, they start to lose their connection to source and Mother Earth.
And you can just see it from when they start like kindergarten to even not very, very far on their education journey. They don't even look like the same person.
No, because they're not. Energetically, they're not. They're being depleted. They're losing their sense of self and they're being conditioned to become what others want them to be.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, we are not meant to live in these boxes.
Nope.
People talk about all of these things that are happening now, ADHD and ADD and all these things. I'm sorry, I don't believe in any of it. I believe that children are overstimulated and they are not spending enough time in nature. When I was a child, we used
True.
to have 2 hours a day of recess. Now I don't even know if recess is a thing anymore. And if it is, it's 20 minutes or 15 minutes, and the kids don't even really get to explore. They have to stay in a little safe area. And my elementary school
Explore.
was in the woods. And the teachers stood on the wood line, and they let us, they were right there with us. They
Yep.
wanted to go into the forest with us because we were the ones showing them,
Yes.
reminding them, helping them remember. And that's what the collective conscious is now. Is it's time to step into remembering. We need to remember the beings we were born as, and stop allowing, the outside sources to control and create who we are.
Yeah. And I still explore. I have a lot of areas I can
Oh
explore.
yeah.
I've been called childlike a lot, which I think is a compliment.
It absolutely is.
And it's just like, no, I never have lost that,
Right.
thankfully. And I still love to. I just love it. I'm very childlike, definitely. When you come to Christmas, I still have, because my birthday is December, my parents always had me do decorating Christmas and all that stuff. And it's still, December is very important because my birthday, but just because the month. I
Yeah.
mean, I am in.
Magical time.
It is, and I started. My grandparents got me started collecting vintage Christmas things, and I've had shows, showing people that, and I am in flow. I am very much in flow. I love doing that, and but I love doing this. I'm definitely in flow when I'm doing these podcasts or talking to people,
Yes.
and I'm getting these visions of me being on stage very much. And I was asked the other day at this university, it's local, if I would go and talk to people, which is the first time somebody's come to me, on that. And it's like, okay, the journey is progressing here.
Yes.
And
like I said, the collective is becoming more and more aware, and more places are looking for people who are willing to speak their truth
yeah,
over the business model. Like I said before, we are moving into a frequency of feeling over thought.
yes,
And this is the planetary shift. This is the universal shift, right? We're stepping
yes,
into the age of Aquarius. People
yes,
sang about this. People talked about it, and everybody's like, what? People
yeah,
all thought they were lunatics. But really, we're coming back into a time of learning how to feel first
yeah,
over thinking,
yeah,
which is a beautiful time. But I always want to remind people the difference between compassion and empathy. It's a beautiful thing to learn to have compassion for people.
yes.
Empathy is a word that's being thrown all over right
Oh,
now.
it is that.
Right. And here's the thing about empathy. Empathy, the definition of empathy is the ability to feel other people's stuff. We don't want to do that because then we're taking it on as our own.
Right.
So I always tell people, never label yourself as an empath, because the universe is listening, and you basically are opening the door to say, oh yes, I am totally willing to feel and take on everybody else's stuff, all the heartache out in the world, all the dying animals, all the causes. No, you can have compassion for all of these things and be a part of it without taking it on as it's yours.
Right.
So that's a big thing for people to learn. And it's a really difficult one because, again, as caretakers, like the human species wants to help, wants to
Right.
serve.
Right.
That's one of the biggest challenges for people, is to learn to separate themselves from that compassion and empathy.
Yeah, and I definitely have to work on that because I definitely I can go in a room and I can feel I can feel.
Exactly.
And yeah, and
So
compassion.
my suggestion to you, Mark, if you don't mind me
Okay.
sharing,
No, that'd be great.
I used to be the same, and I used to label myself decades ago as an empath. And, I always thought this was this great thing because I was an empath and I could feel everything. Now, when I walk into a room, I can still feel all the energy.
Okay.
And I just see it as a gift of being able to know which energy I'm attracted to and which energy I need to stay away from.
Okay.
So
I-
when I walk into a room, I can feel it. If it's disruptive, I'm gone. If
Yeah.
the overpowering energy is disruptive, I'm gone. If I don't have, and again, like I said, anytime I'm going into any event or anything that I'm doing,
Right.
I
Right.
meditate and I get myself centered. And really, what you're trying to do is imagine yourself changing the energy as you flow into the room, and radiating your heart space energy
Wow.
out into the room.
Right.
But again, I will say that there are times, depending on the amount of people in there and the
Right.
subject matter,
Right.
it can be off-putting. But I will tell you this, that last year I was at a chamber breakfast. I was invited, and it was a business chamber
Okay.
breakfast with all, suits and everything.
Right.
We're
Right.
talking about insurance, and it was, that kind of business in the medical field. And
Yes.
in front of 200 people, I stood up as myself,
Uh-huh.
literally started questioning and asking about natural medicine and holistic modalities and the
Okay.
proven studies that this is working and it's helping and it's healing. And
Yes.
and even though they dodged my question and kind of, oh, well, we give gym memberships. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's going to fix the problem.
Yeah.
It's the root cause. But I had so many people who came up to me afterwards and acknowledged it and said,
Wow.
thank you. Even people in the business world, because they had never had the, I don't know if you want to say guts or gumption to get up and say something,
Sure.
but to have me there, I was a different energy for
Yeah.
that room. Let me tell you.
And it's like it resonated, definitely resonated with.
When I walk into a room, if I can shift and help someone's energy, even just one, that's the difference. It's not about going in and changing the masses. It's
Um,
about going in even one person at a time, because that's all the difference you need to make, being the ripple.
yeah. And the ripple, because you change that one person and that, I'm
Yes.
a big fan of ripple. So,
Yes. And we have to be conscious of that ripple, because again, you can be the ripple of really beautiful energy,
you
and
can.
you can get caught up in the nonsense and all the stories and the drama that's happening in America today,
It
and
pours in.
be that ripple.
Yeah.
I choose the ripple of who I am, and whether you are talking to me personally or professionally, you get the same person.
That's so cool. And it is easy to get pulled in because I have to consciously, it's like not going there,
Yep.
because it is so easy to get into there. And it's just,
And again, all it does is make it bigger. That's
yeah,
all it's doing, is making it bigger.
yeah,
So if you want to choose which you want to make bigger, do you
right,
want the collective becoming bigger in their understanding and their conscious awareness and
right.
living the lives that we're meant to live here? Or do you want to get caught up in the drama and the trauma and the nonsense
No,
that is not doing anyone any good?
it isn't. No, it definitely isn't. So this is,
Right. So I always tell people, stop watching the news.
I definitely don't.
Yeah, don't watch the news. Get off of the platforms on social media that create that back and forth, that bickering, that fighting.
Yes,
Just don't even, just hide it. And what I've realized is the more energy you put into it, the more that stuff doesn't even show up on your feed anymore.
hmm
People, places, and things that no longer vibe with your frequency begin to slowly disappear, and you don't have to do a thing.
it is. It just takes care of itself. Yes.
Care of
Yeah.
itself, because the universe is watching and they're saying, this is the one we want to work with. We're going to support her. We're going to
Yeah.
support him. We're
Yeah.
going to show them what they need to see so that they can continue on their journeys.
And it definitely has been my case. It's definitely more all the time, every day, every moment of the day. So Kelly, is there something else that you, in this, where you're, what you're doing that you haven't done that you would still like to do? To
Ooh, is there something that I would like to do that I haven't done yet? I'm sure that there are things, but in the moment, I really am just focusing on being present as consciously
perfect.
as possible, one moment at a time, without looking too far into the future, because my guides are with me every day and
Yep.
they show me the way.
Yep.
So
They
instead
do.
of trying to figure it out, when I just surrender and
Surrenders.
allow them to help guide me,
Yep.
everything I need comes right to me.
It
So
does.
I don't need to try. I don't need to even think about what I want to do, because it doesn't matter. I'm
Yeah.
just going to focus on the now.
And that is good because there's so many people. So many people are in a hurry in this country, and they're definitely not in the now. And I've done even posts. It's like you're going to hurry yourself, and you're going to be out of your life, and you haven't done anything you really wanted to.
Right. But
And
again, that's conditioning. We were brought up that way.
yeah,
Worked for the first, 60 something years of your life. And if you're lucky,
yep,
back then you had 10 years of retirement.
yeah,
No. And I didn't teach my kids that. I told my kids, find something that you love. Find
and
something that
it's- yeah,
fulfills you, and the money will come. Stop worrying about what anybody else thinks and find your own path. Like, I don't care about them being, the first and getting the trophies and all of that. It's not about working hard. It's about, what did you learn in the process? Who did you become during that, whatever experience it was for you?
Yeah.
And because of that, they have blazed their own ways of doing things that are not in alignment with who I am. But that doesn't matter. It's their life, it's their journey, and they can go off and do what's right for them.
Yes. Yeah, it is, and that is, we are definitely conditioned to do all that.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to the point where I should start thinking about retirement, which I won't ever do, because I
Right.
don't, it's just. But people are like,
Hey, Mark, if you're so happy in your life, why would you retire? I
exactly.
will never retire according to,
Oh,
what Social Security believes or the government believes.
all that, yes,
I will continue to offer my services and this until a day comes where they say, Kelly,
yeah,
but I know that even on my deathbed,
uh-huh,
I'm going to be healing others.
yes,
Even
I
the
know
ones
you will.
standing around me, helping me pass on a physical level. I know that even in those moments, I'm going to be healing.
Yes, and I have no doubt, and me too. You
Yeah.
know, it does make people think, and that it's like, why isn't he doing that? It's like, no way. And no, I am having too much fun. I'm
Yes.
finally to the point in my life where it's just like, why would I want to quit that? So
You got to follow your bliss.
you do, you very much do. So Kelly, before we end the podcast, is there anything else you would like to share with the guests?
I just want to tell people that, you're exactly where you're meant to be right here and now,
Yes.
even if you feel like you're struggling. Every single moment is just a moment in time to learn, expand, and grow from. There is no such thing as right or wrong. There's no such thing as good or bad. It's just the energy that we choose to put into it that creates that.
Yes.
So be kind to yourself. Have compassion for your journey and know that you are a magical being. And when you learn to go within and trust your own inner being and your own inner voice, that's where the magic is.
It
So
does. It
I
is.
invite everyone to really learn how to meditate.
Yeah. And I'm now that I know, I definitely can do that.
And feel free to use a guided meditation again, because music, something like that, hurts frequencies. Using that actually helps stop the thought process,
Really? Okay.
because your brain is then connected and listening to the music. And the more centered thought you can have and focus on one thing, if you're just trying to sit in silence, your brain's going to be going anywhere and everywhere. So if you're a beginner
Right.
meditator, I always say, pop on a 5-minute guided meditation, or
Okay.
pop on some kind of hertz frequency, or music that is going to help you relax into the space and just breathe and allow it to be whatever it is.
Okay.
Don't try to guide it. Don't try to just
Uh-huh.
allow to be in the moment. And if you stick with it for days and days, even 4 days, they're showing that there's biological changes happening in our body within just 4 days.
So quickly. Okay.
So yes, so if you stick with this and you do it consistently every single morning, you have to do it first thing in the morning before your thoughts start to
Good.
go, because we
Yeah.
used to have like 17 seconds when we woke up, and now we have like 3, because that's
And I can believe too.
and due to technology, that's the attention span now, is because of all the scrolling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really, first thing in the morning, meditate for just a few minutes and picture your day. Picture the kind of person you want to be.
Realization. Yes.
Yes. Visualize who you're going to show up for, whether it's a business meeting, whether it's a friend, whatever it is, for your kids, for yourself. Who do you want to be today?
Yes.
And then just say a few things, a few words of gratitude.
Yes. Oh, yes. And
You know?
I definitely do that. That's one thing. All of Cheryl's cancers have definitely put me into that, into that place. Yeah.
And learn how to appreciate, because there's a difference between gratitude and appreciation, and most people don't know the difference.
Yeah.
Gratitude is from when you had to suffer or struggle through something and came to the other side. You're now grateful for it.
Yes.
Appreciation is being able to look all around you and just love what it is you're experiencing and you're seeing.
Awesome. And I did not know that difference either, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kelly, this has been such a great podcast.
Thank
I would
you.
love to have you back sometime down the line on a follow-up
Happy
podcast.
to. Happy
Um,
to.
have you ever been
We
to
can talk
Nebraska?
more about. We can talk more about animal messages and totems and medicine and all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
we got plenty to talk about, Mark, for next time.
So have you ever been to Nebraska? I'd love to do one in person. Or if I
Been to Nebraska.
Okay. It's not like, well, there's the corn in the cabinet, but there's so much more. I mean, it's not flat like everybody thinks going through on Interstate 80. They think that's all it is. But like any place, it's so much more than when you get there. But either that, or if I ever get back, I have never been to Connecticut, so I would love to. I would love to do one in person with you. That would be awesome too.
Absolutely. Somewhere down the line, I have no doubt that it will happen.
I know that's going to happen too. Yes. So, but well, Kelly, thank you for being on the Dreamcatcher
Thank you.
podcast. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you.